Hey everybody, you're
Recorded.
watching the Mike Nelson Show. I want to thank everybody who's subscribed to the channel. We have over 400 subscribers around the world. Today, I got a very special guest. I got Jesus AxoIotl. How you doing today, Jesus?
I'm doing really good, Mike. Excited to be here doing this. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, it's Friday. Today's a Veterans Day, very special day today. I want to thank all the people who served this country. But I just want to, it's been a good day today. It's Friday. Hopefully everybody had a good week today.
Yes, sir.
All right. So when did you start playing music?
So I'll take you back to like the very beginning with the spark, kind of like the little big bang in the whole music journey. So it was I believe it was like during the winter. My uncle was celebrating his wedding. I was sitting at a round table. I was probably surrounded by family members, and I'm looking this way, and I turn around and I hear music playing, and there's a band, and when I turn around, I see this guy with his guitar, probably a bajo sexto. It was a norteño band, and he's just there looking really cool, really sharp. And I turn around my whole body, and I look at that guy, and I'm like that. I want to do that. Not necessarily norteño music, but I want to look that fucking cool. So that was a moment where I realized that I wanted to play music and I wanted to play guitar. And ever since then, um, I asked for a guitar. I got a lent guitar. Then my grandma gave me one acoustic guitar, and my father bought me another acoustic guitar. And throughout middle school, I was associated with the music department. I wasn't necessarily like a student, but I would talk to the musical director, and then I'd show them like what I got, what I can do, and then they would put me on shows, like talent shows, and so on and so on. And then I went into high school. I joined the marching band, and I joined the jazz band and the Latin jazz band and the jazz combo. And then on my free time, like on the weekends, I would do a choir at church. I wasn't necessarily singing, but I was playing guitar, so I was learning a couple of things here and there. And then after high school, I joined the mariachi band for almost 2 years, and it was what it was. But at the end, I realized that that's not what I wanted to do. I started seeing like bands forming and playing, and I was like, okay, I think that's what I not no not that I think. I was like, that's what I want. That's what I've been looking for. Just that I did all these other things because I just wanted to be a part of music. I just wanted to play in bands and stuff. So I quit the whole mariachi thing, and I started just like kind of like trying to make music, but it was really terrible music at the beginning, and I would go to shows and stuff, and eventually I joined a band, but that didn't work out. And 2019 came, and that's when I started the whole Jesus AxoIotl. Uh, and ever since 2019, I didn't play any shows, but in 2020, that's when I formed my band, and I started, ever since then up to this point, just I barely started playing shows like over a year ago.
So you mentioned you started playing guitar. How old were you when you started playing guitar then?
I was officially like 12 years old.
Was that your first instrument then? First and only instrument?
Yes, my first and only instrument.
So I was in actually marching band and jazz band too. I was an alto sax player for both of those bands. How do you think that helped you out, like as a guitarist? Playing. It's a lot different. You're playing in a structure. In music education in public schools, it's a very structured environment, right? You're kind of following kind of what the teachers laying out for the students, and
Yeah.
you're sticking to sheet music and all that kind of stuff. You have some room for improvisation, but how do you think that did that make you a better guitar player, or what do you think about that?
Honestly, it did not, because when I joined the marching band, I was in the drum line. I
Oh
was
wow.
playing.
Okay.
So with that, I learned how to read like rhythm on a sheet music. It's been a while, but throughout like my whole marching band uh, era, I learned how to read that, and then I became the section leader of the drum line.
Yeah.
Um, Professor or the music director asked, anybody want to be the section leader, and I was like, I'm down, like I'll do it. I was like, why not? And it was hard at first, because the thing about being a percussionist, you really have to nail down that timing. Like you really got to be that metronome. And I struggled at first, I'm not gonna lie, but eventually, I prevailed. And then when I joined the Latin jazz band, I wasn't playing like a string or wind instrument. I was playing timbales.
Oh wow.
And that was another challenge. But I was like, nah, I want to be as cool as like Tito Puente, I not necessarily get to his level, but I was just like, I love guitar this much, right? And then I was in the drum line. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But when I learned how to play the timbales, it was like I liked it just as much, but like by a slight hair, guitar wins. But that instrument it's really fun. And then with Lion Jazz Band, I got introduced to like Hector Lavoe, Willie Colon, what's his name, Larry Harlow, obviously Celia Cruz. Just like I learned about that whole scene that was going on, mostly like Puerto Ricans and stuff. And I was like, man, this is so freaking cool. I remember summers just listening to La Cartera, uh, Llorarás by Oscar de Leon, La Murga by, I believe it was Willie Colon, Hector Lavoe, and then listening to a song called Abuelita, just just all of that. And I feel like it helped me musically, like in general, like to just be more like, oh, so you could do things this way, you could do things that way, or like, who are these great Latin artists? So I feel like it just expands my horizons musically.
So you say you were in a band before going solo. So you went solo in 2019, then a year before the pandemic.
Yes, that's when I announced that I was just like, hey, that's when I made the whole Jesus AxoIotl thing, because I released a single on SoundCloud. But then my friends and people I knew, they were like digging it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do a Spotify. Let's just go for it. And then that's when 2019 came, and I I uploaded that song on Spotify. And but even before that, I was searching for a name, because the thought of like going solo was already like in my head, and I was just trying to look for a name before I made the next step. And I knew I wanted to keep my name, Jesus or Jesus, whatever you want to say. And it wasn't until I was in college. I was taking a Chicano studies class, pre-Mesoamerican, I believe it was, and we learned about. We were just doing a lot of readings, and we eventually got to this reading where it was about a man having some kind of connection with the axolotl, the axolotl. It's like the little amphibian creature that you can find in the lakes of Xochimilco. And then I was like, okay, that's cool. And then the professor, she put up a picture of that creature, and it was like the little pink amphibian axolotl. And I was like, man, that creature looks really rad, because it's got like this little quirky smile, and it doesn't even look from this earth. If somebody would have pointed that animal to me and told me, hey, they actually found this like in some planet, somewhere else, I would have been like, no way, really, because it looks like a little alien creature. And then our professor, she explained to us like the background behind the axolotl and all this other stuff, which I'm not gonna get because I don't want to butcher it, but I think it's pretty interesting. And once I decided like, okay, I'm just gonna go with Jesus axolotl, and it just felt right to me, and it looked cool. So I decided on that name, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna release music, I'm gonna release it under this name.
Who were some of the guitar players that influenced you, for your playing today?
Oh man, whew. Jimmy Page, man. Jimmy Page is the GOAT. He's the best. I love Hendrix a lot, but I'm not gonna lie, it's Jimmy Page. Like it was in middle school, when I first started playing guitar, because growing up, I would listen to a lot of Led Zeppelin records because of my sister. I remember having specifically the Mothership album that came out in 2007.
Yeah, the greatest hits.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I had that in my house too.
Nice. And just having it, like the physical copy. And then this was right before, I think, like I had like an iPod Nano, iPod Shuffle.
Yeah.
I remember, getting ready to go take a shower. I would take my little CD boombox and just plug it in and put that CD and just shower and just listen to those greatest hits. I remember falling in love with Since I've Been Loving You. And going into middle school now, I would get out of school, walk home, straight to the computer, just watch Led Zeppelin's 1973 Madison Square Garden performance of Since I've Been Loving You.
Yeah.
The way he just starts like a monster, like shredding. And I was like, that's not how he plays it in the record. But I was like, that's how Led Zeppelin is. And eventually I was able to find the tabs, to that performance, and I learned it. Pretty well, not to the point, not like Jimmy Page, but pretty well. And I was pretty like proud of myself. And yeah, it's Jimmy Page, number one. Carlos Santana, probably the guys from the Strokes, because I played a lot of Strokes growing up. And Hendrix. Right now, I'm like crazy about Hendrix. Who else? I think all the Kings from the 50s, BB King, Albert King, Freddie King, Howling Wolf. I don't know like their discography like that well, but I know who they are because they're kind of like the fathers of blues and stuff.
So you mentioned the blues. A lot of guitar players now, I think, especially people our age, they kind of forget about the blues. But for you, I could see the blues is very important in your playing. Did you play a lot of old blues stuff when you were learning how to play guitar?
I did. It was specifically with BB King. I remember just hearing him like playing "The Thrill Is Gone," and that's his big hit. And I don't know, dude. Like I felt a lot of connection to the blues because I feel like we all know like it started in Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
And they talk about there's something about in the blues that they kind of talk about pain and and like in my music there's always an element of that. And recently I'm just like, you know what, maybe I kind of want to get away from that, and I kind of started maybe trying to write like a pop song or a commercial song, and I try and yeah, I guess I can make one, but I don't feel any kind of connection to it. But when I hear the blues, especially those guys playing like that 12 bar blues, I feel strong. I feel strong to it. So yeah. One song that I really like is Guess Who by BB King. Just there's a lot of soul in there, And that's what I like. I like something that grabs an emotion from me and makes me feel something.
So talk to me about recording with Brian Wilson. You guys did Love and Mercy. This was through Little Kids Rock. Can you tell me about that? How that came about?
Damn, yeah. So basically it was not junior, it was high school. I was a junior in high school. Our music director, he called me and then some other guys in class and told me, hey, I have this project going on, recording with Brian Wilson from Beach Boys. And I was like, I knew who they were, but I wasn't aware of them as much as like say Zeppelin or the Strokes. But I was like, I got a little hyped because he told me, yeah, we're gonna be recording at East West Studios where they originally recorded Pet Sounds. And I was like, okay, that I kind of know, because I feel like everybody knows like that song. Wouldn't it be nice if we were older, that one? And I was like, oh shit. So I was like, yeah, I got hyped. They told us, learn this song, learn your parts, and we're gonna head to the studio this weekend or something like that. And we get to the studio. The first day, they greet us and stuff, fucking made me feel like a rock star for some reason. They bought us food. They took us inside the studio where they recorded Pet Sounds. And then I remember back then I wasn't a gearhead, man. I just give me a guitar. I don't really care what it is. I didn't know about pickups. I didn't know about wood. I didn't really care as long as I had a guitar. So they took me inside the studio, and then the guy that's working there, he's like, all right, this is a vintage 1960 something Fender Stratocaster. Like love it, take care of it. And I was like, yeah, sure. I didn't think about it much because I was like, it's just a guitar, man, which I know is like crazy now that I think about it. And yeah, I get it. And we laid down the track. I laid down my lead parts, and then I get out, but they call me back in because something about like, oh, this guy can't get this part on the acoustic or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And I grabbed my guitar and then I record that shit. And then it's funny because they had this device. They're like, make sure you're in tune.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, tune again. And I would do a couple takes, and they're like, all right, tune again, check your tuning. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I go out, they get us more food and and all this other stuff. So then next day comes, and then they're like, okay, this is Brian Wilson is actually here. I wasn't aware about his state that he's in, or was, I don't know. So they did our makeup. They took us into the restroom. They did our makeup. Once we're all ready, we go inside. He's there. I see him. He's just like a boss sitting in front of the piano, and we're like behind the booth. And he's like, "All right, are the guys here? All right, bring them in." And I was like, "All right, cool." So we all go in. We sit down, grab our instruments, and we start recording and doing the music video. We didn't really speak to him. We didn't really say much. But man, what an experience, you know?
I mean,
And after
especially because
that,
you were in high school, right? You were so young.
I was in high school. And just just recording with a legend, it's like I'm all about the 60s, man. That's my favorite decade. And the guys from the 60s. And yeah, it's an experience that I'm always gonna carry with me forever, man.
Was that your first time in a real studio?
Yes, it was. And probably yeah, it was my first time in legit studio where we were eating lunch and then they were talking about, oh, Michael Jackson recorded here, or like Van
Yeah.
Halen, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I was like, fuck, I know all these bands. I was like, hell yeah. And I just got me hyped.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's a crazy story, man, that you'll have forever. So how many albums have you released as a soloist?
As a soloist, I released 2 albums, one in January 2021 and the other one of this year, earlier in February. So that first album, there's a lot of bands out there like releasing singles or like even artists releasing singles and stuff like that. And, telling you that, I'm a guy that loves the 60s and 70s and stuff. Back then it was like, we're recording an album, guys. We're recording an album. And I kind of just want to I like feeling a connection to that. So that's why I was just like, hey guys, I in my own world, I'm just like, I'm gonna make an album. And the cover art is very important to me too. And I was just like, that's actually one of my favorite photos, the one from the first album.
And where have you been recording these albums and EPs at? Have they been at a home studio? Where have you been doing them at?
In my home studio here, like right where I'm sitting.
And you've been producing them all by yourself as well?
Yes, I am. I use Logic Pro, and I have my 2 monitors here, my 2 JBLs, and then I have my audio interface. And I just try the best I could because I don't really have a lot of money, and I don't think it's worth it to pay like $500 or more for a song that probably only like 10 people are gonna hear if I'm lucky, or something like that. I like to be realistic about that. But maybe, who knows, man? Maybe one day I'm just gonna be like screw it. I'm just gonna go for it. But yeah, like if someone were to be like, hey, if you put the money and you record your album or you record your EP or your single, and we'll make sure to market you well, then I'd be down for it. I'd be down for it. But I got these other things on the side besides music that I got to take care of too. Yeah.
And how did you learn about production? Did you kind of just learn on like watching YouTube videos and stuff like that? How did you learn how to like mix the albums and all that?
Dude, trial and error. Like at the beginning, I think it was high school senior year, I was trying to record a cover of Purple Haze. Man, I was just like, I didn't know you had to mute these certain tracks. I didn't know you had to take off the clicker, because then, I was just basically just my computer. And I was like, oh, cool. I can just plug in with the USB with my guitar. Dope. I didn't have monitors. I didn't have an audio interface. I remember just being disappointed. I'm like, man, I suck. Like, this is terrible.
Sounds bad, huh?
Yeah, I was so terrible. Yeah. And eventually, yeah, like in college, I started like looking up some videos, like how to record, like really basic recording. I know there's videos out there how to use Logic Pro X like really, really well, but man, it's just like, it takes some time and you really have to study that shit. But just like I said, trial and error. I do have some tracks that I haven't released, but I haven't released because they're not finished. But I feel like those tracks have really helped me in recording the ones I've actually taken out under Jesus AxoIotl. So I would say, yeah, just like that. And every now and then you'll see some tips on some videos on YouTube, some reels and stuff. So that's always helpful.
Now, do you have a set band for your live shows right now? Because I know you've been having some live shows here and there. Do you have a set group of guys you're playing with right now?
Yes. So when I was starting my band, I met the bass player that plays with me. His name is Michael. We hit it off. We were just talking about music. He was a mariachi too, and I told him, listen, man, like I make music. I'm gonna I want to play shows out there because I really feel like I can give something. Would you mind like helping me out? You know, playing bass because I need a bass player. And he's like, yeah, sure. Just hit me up. Let me know when. And I was like, cool. I was like, check that off my list. Then I hit up my homie who I used to play in a band with. His name was Noel. Oh, is Noel. And I asked him, like to jam for a while. And I asked him that day, hey, bro, like I got music coming. You mind helping me out? And he's like, sure. That happened. But then, you know, um, unfortunate events happen with the whole world. So that was all put up like on hold. But I was just like, no, you know what? I'm not gonna let this stop me. I gotta make some moves still. So that year, 2020, I released my second EP, like in the summer of 2020, and I also released a music video with the help of homie Alan. Um, so I did that, and then right after like releasing something, I kind of maybe take a break for a month, and then that's when I start working again on new music. Um, Drummers, they come and go, man. It's really hard to keep one. So I've just made a lot of friends with drummers and stuff, meeting them at shows, doing some marketing on Instagram, being like looking for a drummer. If you're interested, hit me up. Let's link up. That's how I've met great friends like that are drummers.
So you've
Yeah.
had different drummers then on these songs that you've released?
Honestly, I use the Logic Pro function of the
Oh,
drummer, the
okay.
live. Yeah, because dude, I don't I don't have a lot of space here to record live drums, and I feel like that's a whole different ball game to record drums.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just use the that other function.
What has been the best part about playing live with your band right now?
Oh man, honestly, it's the high that you get after playing a show or when you're playing a show and people are cheering. It's pretty wild. I don't I don't really drink. I don't smoke or do any of that. But when I'm on stage and I get off stage, it's like damn, it's just so fucking good. And like say it's like calling upon your heroes when you're kind of shredding on the guitar. You're like, yeah, like there's a little bit of Jimmy Page in my heart. There's a little bit of Santana in my heart. There's some Hendrix in my heart, but most of it is me, and that's what makes me me. And yeah, I've seen interviews of other guitar players talking about like isn't he such a great guitar player, like modern blues players right now. And the other guy's like, yeah, but he's also Stevie Ray Vaughan, he's also BB King, because we've all consumed these guitar players, you know and it's a little bit like that. But honestly, it's the high, and then like I think it's just that for lack of better use of words.
Talk to me about one of the songs you sent me, "The Crime Is Up." I really like that song. How'd you write that song? What's that song about?
So oh man, during that time I was listening to The Clash, London Calling. And man, that song is one of those songs that really just like hit, like the 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 water. What are the words? The ice age is coming, the sun's coming in, a nuclear error. It's just like kind of end of the world kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I had those chords with me already, and I was like, I was in my head, I was like, I know I want a song that kind of goes like that. Dun, 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 dun. And I was just trying to find lyrics, and I was struggling a little bit. I get on my phone and I see, hey, down the street, Boyo Loco got robbed. Somebody got shot. Somebody got stabbed. I live here in Boyle Heights, man. And I'm like, damn, like it kind of sucks opening your phone and just seeing that shit. And that's when I was just like, the crime is up, I thought in my head. And then I was like, let me do it with the chords I'm playing. And I was like, dun, 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 the crime is up. And it's just started coming out really easily. The crime is up in a place I call my only home. It's where I live and where I die and rest my life and rest my bones. The world's not done. Don't want to say that I hate my home. It's not all lost, but a kid got shot around my block. The crime is up, no more goodbye. So what's to know and what's to come? You know, and I was like, oh, you know, that feels true to me. So that's when I was like, I got something here. I got something here. And I just started working working off that. And that's how I came up with the song.
Now, you seem like you practice a lot on your guitar. How much do you practice a week or a day?
Um, damn. Man, I'm not gonna lie, ever since I got a job, like a full-time job, it's been a little less.
Okay.
You know, but before before when I was still in college, high school, middle school, I had my guitar on me the whole time. Coming from school, grab my guitar, just play, learn other people's songs. I started making connections. Like I remember there's this song called Europa by Carlos Santana.
Yeah,
it's in the key of
it's an
C
awesome
minor.
instrumental. Yeah.
Sick song. I actually performed that song in high school.
Wow.
My music director, he told me to learn it.
Yeah.
And I actually performed it for a bunch of people. And then so I have some kind of special connection to that song. So I found out that song is in C minor, and I was learning songs with tabs, and I was like, okay, C minor. If you're playing the key of C minor, you're gonna play here. And then I discovered the song. Which one is it? Not discovered. Then I thought about "Since I've Been Loving You" by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, they're kind of playing the same places here. I think it's in the same key, C minor. So then, you know, I might be going off the rails here, but I always thought to myself, I want my own Europa. I want my own "Since I've Been Loving You." And then I thought about "Still Got the Blues" by Gary Moore. And I was like, I want a song like that. I want a song where I can introduce it with my guitar, sing, play, go back to a solo, sing, play, go back to a solo. And that's how I came up with the song "No War, Only Love." And that song, I wrote it out of fear. It was in the beginning of 2020, and then the whole speculation of World War III, you know. I was like, man, this is scary, bro. Like you know, World War II, you learn it in school and stuff like that, and you see all those deaths. You watch the movie the Western Front, like, dude, that movie was scary, man. And that's when I wrote that song. So I feel like a lot of my songs, you know, there's an element of pain in there. And I've recently I asked myself, like, why is that a thing for me? Why is that like a element? And I'm like, well, whatever it is, you know, you kind of, not to be cheesy, but you kind of have to, I guess, maybe embrace it and maybe become friends with it, or just acknowledge it, like, oh yeah, he's here or she's here, but we're cool with each other, you know, kind of feed off each other.
Yeah. Now, do you have any shows coming up that you want to talk about? You know, the viewers aren't going to see this till next week. I know you got a show this Sunday on the 13th, but you got something else coming up after the 13th?
So I'm planning to do a show at the Mint, just like a goodbye to the year, because it's been a good year. Been playing shows for like about a year now. So maybe playing a show over there at the Mint. I don't have a date set, but I will be announcing it. Or maybe playing at the Universal Bar and Grill. It's just I've just been focused on this gig that I'm gonna play at USC, because, you know, growing up as a kid, I would go to that campus like sometimes and being like, oh, I want to be a student here. I want to maybe learn music, but you know, that didn't happen. So it's like, it feels like a full circle now, because I applied to be in the music program over there, but it's very competitive, and I didn't get in. But now it's just like, now I have my own band and I have music out and I'm playing there, you know, so it's cool. I love it. I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, I'll be announcing a show soon in December.
And where can people find your music? Are you on all the streaming platforms?
Yes, I am. I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, even TikTok, man. Probably Snapchat too, if that's even still a thing. Tidal, Deezer, you know, all the streaming platforms. I'm there. Yeah, or you can just go to my link tree on my Instagram and check out some of the stuff I have there.
What would be some advice for those young guitar players out there?
Man, that's a tough question, man. I feel like it's a simple question, but it's a tough one. You know, not to sound cheesy again, man, but just like kind of like look within, like be self-aware of what you want and what you're trying to get out of this. And if it's just for fun, then yeah, have fun, man. Learn it. If you love, I see a lot of people on Instagram doing like getting on tons of followers for just doing covers of music, which is cool. You know, I want to get into that, but right now, you know, like I told you, like I feel connection with like artists from the 60s and stuff. So maybe in my head I'm just like living in that time, maybe. But for all the young guitarists, just keep playing, have fun. Um, don't get intimidated by other guitar players. Don't ever let that happen, because we all have different paths. You know, we all have different journeys. Um, I know there's music like pop punk. There's not really a lot of shredding, man. But I see these bands. I'm like, man, these bands are killer. I see a band like, I don't know, Greta Van Fleet. The guy's soloing, and I was like, damn, that's killer. You know, I feel like there's an audience for any kind of music you're trying to play.
All right. I want to thank you, Jesus, for coming on the show today. It was great talking to you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching.